All right, let's just dive right into it. Today in this explainer, we are breaking down the absolutely massive stakes of the 2026 World Cup opening match, Mexico versus South Africa. You know, this isn't just a game. It's a massive clash of tactics, wild expectations, and literally immense psychological pressure. So let's map out exactly how this whole thing might unfold.
Which brings us to a really fascinating question right off the bat. What if the very first major surprise of the tournament happens on opening night? I mean, pretty much everyone expects Mexico to come out firing and grab the win, right? But opening matches are notoriously unpredictable. We've seen some absolutely shocking results in past World Cup openers, mostly because the environment is just so incredibly tense. Honestly, the second that whistle blows, the script gets tossed completely out the window. To figure out what might actually happen here, we've got to look way deeper than just who the favorites are and really examine the unique pressures both these squads are facing.
Because here's the thing, history shows us time and time again that pressure matters way more than talent in these opening games. Think about it. When you step onto that pitch for the absolute first match of a World Cup, sure, the physical intensity is through the roof, but the mental burden, it's astronomical. The momentum for the entire group basically hinges on this single result. And sometimes, having the most technically gifted players on the field just isn't enough if those same players are paralyzed by the sheer weight of the moment.
So what we've got here is your classic David versus Goliath setup. On one hand, you have Mexico carrying this crushing weight of expectation. They've got massive home support, which is an incredible asset for sure, but it's also a tremendous burden. Millions of fans aren't just hoping for a win, they are demanding a totally dominant performance. And then, on the flip side, you have South Africa operating with what I'd call a dangerous freedom. They literally have nothing to lose. Nobody expects them to steamroll the favorites on opening night, and that gives them this amazing underdog mentality. They can play completely liberated. That massive contrast in their mental states, that's going to be a huge factor.
Let's take a closer look at Mexico first. Look, experts are backing Mexico for a very good reason. Their current generation has a super clear tactical identity and just incredible technical quality. When you break down their attacking weapons and key playmakers, they possess the firepower to dismantle almost any defense on the planet. You combine that raw, undeniable talent with a roaring home atmosphere, and you've got a team custom-built to dictate the pace and create scoring chances non-stop.
But, and this is a big but, I want you to chew on this for a second. Could Mexico's biggest advantage actually turn into their fatal flaw? It's a pretty provocative thought, right? Imagine if things don't go exactly to plan in the first, say, 20 minutes. That passionate home crowd, they can get restless really quickly. And trust me, when a crowd gets restless, the players feel it down on the pitch. Suddenly, those overwhelming home expectations could paralyze the team instead of propelling them forward. It really forces us to ask if their weak points, like defending high-pressure transitions, might get fully exposed just by their own desperation to perform.
And that right there is the crucial point. How does South Africa plan to exploit that exact scenario? If we look at South Africa's journey to this stage, they've built an incredibly formidable, disciplined unit. Their defensive organization is tight, like really tight, and their team chemistry is just off the charts right now. They are totally comfortable playing on the back foot, absorbing wave after wave of pressure, and then boom, unleashing a lethal counterattack. Because of that underdog mentality we talked about, they aren't going to panic if Mexico hogs the ball for long stretches. Actually, scratch that. They want that. That's exactly the scenario they've been preparing for.
Now, statistically speaking, the contrast between these two squads is honestly staggering. On paper, Mexico holds a massive advantage. They sit way higher in the FIFA rankings, their squad value is at a premium level, and they have extensive tournament experience compared to South Africa's pretty limited resume. I mean, to put that into perspective, if you were only looking at the raw numbers, you'd probably think this match was a totally foregone conclusion. But, as we all know, football matches are not played on spreadsheets.
So, looking at how the game will actually flow, the projected possession trends point to heavy dominance from Mexico. They're going to press high and try to completely control the tempo right from the opening whistle, probably holding around 70% of the ball. Meanwhile, South Africa, they'll happily let Mexico have it just so they can maintain their super compact defensive shape. They're just waiting for that one perfect moment to launch a counter. Mexico will have the ball, sure, but South Africa will be hunting for all that empty space Mexico leaves behind them.
This paints such a fascinating tactical picture. It is literally an irresistible force meeting an immovable object. Mexico is incredibly efficient at creating chances in the final third, no doubt about it. But South Africa's defensive record proves they know exactly how to weather a storm. One really crucial detail we need to keep an eye on here is set-piece efficiency. In a game that is this tactically polarized, a single, well-placed corner kick or a sneaky free kick could entirely flip the script.
This tactical war is exactly where this match will be won or lost. Repeating Mexico's game plan, which relies heavily on aggressive pressing and smooth, sustained possession, directly against South Africa's shape, which is built entirely on compactness and lightning-fast transition football. Mexico wants to absolutely suffocate South Africa in their own half. But South Africa, they want to draw Mexico in, steal the ball in the midfield, and just sprint into the open space. It's a brilliant clash of styles, and it's what makes this opener so incredibly compelling to watch.
But listen, while the numbers and the tactical layouts lean heavily in Mexico's favor, we absolutely have to remember the golden rule of tournament football. Statistics only tell half the story on opening night. Seriously, you can analyze expected goals and passing completion percentages until you're blue in the face, but those stats can be entirely misleading once the referee blows that whistle. The human element, the raw emotion, the insane adrenaline, you just can't quantify those things on a chart, and they have a massive, undeniable impact on how the game ends.
Let's actually break down how this could unfold by walking through 4 possible scenarios. Scenario 1. Mexico scores early. The pressure bursts, the crowd goes absolutely wild, and it could be a very long night for South Africa. But look at Scenario 2. What if we are dead level at 60 minutes? The momentum shifts drastically, the home crowd gets incredibly nervous, and South Africa gains massive confidence. Then there's Scenario 3. South Africa scores first on a quick counterattack, throwing the entire stadium into shock and forcing Mexico into some desperate tactical adjustments. And finally, Scenario 4, a late dramatic finish, where pure fatigue sets in and tactics completely give way to sheer willpower.
Which brings us to what might just be the most crucial element of all, what we're calling the hidden factor. This is the overwhelming psychological nerves and physical intensity that completely defy all statistics and tournament expectations. We are talking about opening game jitters here. The mental resilience required to perform under the crushing weight of global scrutiny is wild. This hidden factor is the unpredictable variable that could ultimately decide the whole shebang. The team that manages their own nervous energy better, they are going to have a massive advantage, regardless of their technical skill.
So before we get to our final verdict, let's just do a quick review. It all comes down to this epic clash. Mexico's deep tournament experience, roaring home atmosphere, and elite technical quality going head-to-head against South Africa's dangerous freedom and rigid defensive discipline. It really is the ultimate clash of styles. All right, so what is the verdict? Well, on paper, absolutely everything points to a Mexico win. They've got the pedigree, they've got the superstar players, and they've got the home field advantage. But like we said, history is not written on paper, it is written on the pitch. The suspense of this entire match comes down to this crazy mix of clashing styles, frayed nerves, and unyielding stakes where absolutely anything can happen. We've seen massive giants fall on opening night before, and the tension of this specific matchup creates the absolute perfect storm for drama.
Based on our complete breakdown of the tactical patterns, the historical data, and the sheer quality of the squads, the predicted scoreline is a tightly contested 2-1 victory for Mexico. Eventually, their attacking quality really should break through, but South Africa's transition game is just too potent not to cause some serious problems, and they'll likely find the back of the net themselves. So while 2-1 is the mathematical prediction, the probability of a massive upset remains undeniably real given the insane pressure cooker of this opening match.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. When those two teams finally walk out of that tunnel, all the statistics, the squad values, and the expert opinions, they just fade away. You have to ask yourself, which of these clashing factors will truly break the game wide open? Will the overwhelming home support carry Mexico to a dominant victory, or will South Africa's dangerous freedom result in the first massive shock of the tournament? Keep these tactical insights in the back of your mind when you watch, because you are now fully equipped to see the game within the game. Enjoy the match!